93 got that beat.
What's going on, fam? It's your brother Lawrence here with another episode of Watch God Work. In every episode, we get the great pleasure of talking to brothers and sisters who are just doing exceptional work in every field of human endeavor, every deal of industry and culture, and they get to share their God story, the ways in which God has been moving in their life and through their work. And today, I'm excited to have my good brother, Spencer Foreman. What it is, good brother? How you doing?
Man, I'm doing so well. It is such an honor to be kicking it with you.
Man, we love to jump right into it, man, because I got to meet you, at least, albeit electronically, via
Yeah.
introduction, with a mutual brother that we both love and admire and deeply respect. But one of the things about your story and that you will tell and you will share is just one. I think a lot of times when people think about God and working, there is a very limited view of God. It's just like there are these industries that I become an employee in this space, and then I just try to be a good person, quote unquote,
Mhm.
and then that's how kind of comes alive. And then there are situations where people literally create from the ground up. That
Mhm.
there's a
Wow.
need that somehow
Yeah.
kind of connects their story and their journey, and you know what I mean. And we go clearly. If you guys really see my man, we haven't stood side to side, but he's the baller. He got the Pippin shoulders. You know what I'm saying? Which pulls in our stories. And then we see how it pulls together, and we use some of our stories to be able to help people. Your story is one of like creation from the ground up, and
Mm.
creating something, a movement, it's beyond an organization movement that has been holistically changing
Mm.
people's lives. And so, we'll get into all that. But first, I got to ask a question. Spencer, who are you, man? Who's Spencer Foreman?
Wow. First of all, thank you so much for that introduction, man. I am honored. I received that, and I thank you so much.
What's that?
Um, who am I,
Mm-hmm.
Spencer Foreman? I mean, we can get to the things that I do, but who I am, simply put, is I'm someone who truly loves God,
Mm-hmm.
and definitely follows Christ. And through that, I just absolutely love my wife. I'm a husband, and I love my community, and I just love people. And I'm someone who loves to challenge people,
Mm-hmm.
but challenge them in a way that's going to make them better. I'm going to encourage them. I'm going to motivate them to become their best self. Not for me, not even for themselves, because it's bigger than me. It's bigger than them. It's all about we. And just be a stronger person physically, mentally, and spiritually, so that we can just go out and continue to be disciples, which we are asked to do as
Mm-hmm.
believers in Christ.
Brother, man, I appreciate that, good brother, man. But I want to actually kind of start, because there's this moment. I actually want to zoom into this moment in your life where
Yeah,
you were in a space where, just from an athletic standpoint, high
yeah,
promise. And I think that's a
yeah.
story that many people have heard and can understand. But just kind of talk about, kind of just like from an athletic perspective, where you were, your view on that, and kind of just what that journey was at that stage.
Definitely. So, uh, before I truly made my decision to just follow Christ, I was raised in a church family. My grandfather was a pastor, 38 plus years. Uncle was a pastor as well. He has passed. So I was raised in a church family, but I was also raised in an athletic family. Um, my cousin is George Foreman. A lot of people always ask, when you hear my last name, Foreman, are you related to George? And I say yes. And they be like, what, for real? I'm like, yes, really. He's on the family tree. I don't have the George Foreman grill. Yeah, I don't have like the George Foreman grill, and it ain't like I can just hit him up at all times and be like, "Hey, Big George, let me get another grill." It ain't like that, but he's on the family tree. So athletic family. Outside of that, predominantly all about basketball.
Mm,
My dad played basketball at a big time dominant high school here in Houston, Phyllis Wheatley High School. He
mm,
was actually part of a team that is considered one of the greatest high school teams ever in Texas,
mm,
where they won three back-to-back state championships, and he was a part of that team. So basketball there, and then his younger brother, my Uncle Willie, which we call him Sky. he actually played in the NBA back when it was like before it was the Utah Jazz. He played for the New Orleans Jazz, so that's how far back it was. A little history there. And after playing in the NBA, he was a Harlem Globetrotter. So basketball everywhere. My cousins played basketball overseas, D1, all that stuff. So that's what I was raised up in, right? That's what I kind of followed in, and it was an easy move for me and an easy journey because that's what I see and that's what I follow. Those are people that I looked up to. So yeah, destined to become somebody on the court to do some work and just kind of follow that baton, and I did. So just high school, I went to 3 different high schools. Started off at public school for my first 2 years. After public school, I got recruited to go to a private school at that time, and even now, I think like private schools are very big on giving you an upper hand on getting noticed. You get to travel the country in different tournaments and play the top competitions. So I was involved in all of that, playing against big time athletes that we may know, like Dwight Howard, played against Gerald Green, J.R. Smith. So I was in the mix of all that, and I was hooping, I was getting it in. So went from that 1 year at a private Christian school. Then I went to another year, my senior year, went to another school. So I was moving around, finished there at a small Christian school, only graduated 12 seniors at that time, because that's just how small it was. We called ourselves the Big 12. So from there, I got a scholarship to play at Palm Beach Atlantic University. And even there, so I went to my junior year, a private Christian school, senior year, private Christian school, and then actually got recruited to go to a private Christian university. Nothing that I was looking toward. Like these weren't my decisions on the background of it.
I'm about to get into that. Yeah.
Right. Like the background or the foundation of it. Like my main thing was I just want to hoop. Like that's what I know. Like hooping. Like wherever I can go hoop and use my gifts and talents. You know what I'm saying? Like I was like LeBron. I'm taking my talents to South Beach. I took my talents to South Beach, right? Palm Beach Atlantic University in South Florida. So went there. And it was cool. I was excited to be there, but I was so young that I didn't even realize the beauty around me because I was just so focused again on basketball. Like I was literally like a mile away from the beach, palm trees everywhere, and it was nice. But I was like, nah, I'm just here to play ball, get the grades done, cool. But the grades is just because I wanted to hoop. And being at that private Christian school, of course, when you go to those type of universities, they require you to abide by some rules. I was definitely a rule breaker at times, right? Like they had separate dormitories, you know what I'm saying, for the male and the females. And so we would always have our fun, like meet me outside, meet me in the hallway. I was up to all kind of mischief at the time because, it was a private Christian university, but obviously, like I said earlier, I wasn't following the rules of what was meant to be. I just wanted to get my grades done and hoop. We even had to go to chapel like once a week, and there would be times when and we had to swipe our card to show that we went to chapel. That's how we got our credits. And sometimes I would pass my card to one of my classmates or something in the class, and they would just swipe that card for me just so I can show that I went to chapel. But I just be out doing, God knows what, just be out in these streets, Lauren. I was your typical student athlete, and just out here, I was enjoying it. I was having fun, and even in practice, like I had a God-fearing coach who made sure we did devotionals before games and even throughout the week, like to stand in the word. And even in that time where I wasn't really focused on that, the word was always around me, and like God was always around me. And we'll talk about that a little bit further in. But from there, did 2 years at Palm Beach Atlantic University, transferred to Texas A&M International University because my coach transferred there and he took me with him. We had a good relationship. So now I'm going from a mile away from the beach, which is a beautiful location in South Florida, Palm Beach. And now Texas A&M International University, that's in Laredo, Texas. Now, Laredo, Texas is right there on the border of Mexico. So I go from being a mile away from the beach to a mile away from the border. And this is like Nuevo Laredo border. So you got a whole bunch of cartels and all that stuff going on. It's in the desert, just a huge culture shock and a big change. So went through that and, had a successful season there, and I had a pretty successful basketball career, period. Now, what was crazy though during that time, and when I say all this stuff about my basketball career, everybody especially in today's time with technology, they're gonna look you
They
up.
gonna,
Like, all right,
there's the
yeah,
Google, yo, bro, you about to get the
yeah.
big G's gonna come through.
We in
Yo.
the we in the Google. Like even right now, like whoever's watching, you're probably going to Google like, all right, Spence talking all this. Like I'm hearing
Listening,
this
yep.
testimony. I'm hearing this story. Let me look up Spencer Foreman. All right, here we go. This is when it gets real, y'all. So I don't want to get y'all to like these are real stories and real facts. I did play basketball. I was pretty good at it. You know, I'm not going to toot my own horn, but I mean, I could hoop. So you had to pass Spanish, right, in order to graduate, and you had to do you had to have the equivalent of, I think it was like X amount of credit hours, but it required you to take at least like 2 Spanish classes in order to graduate. And how you can get out of taking the Spanish class, you can take like a CLEP test, where you just take an exam and you're done. You're good to go. Once you take that test, you pass. There's your credits. Knock it out, and you're good to go. You don't have to take Spanish class. So the inside scoop for athletes was like, yo, you could take this test, and you know they had the answers because they give you the same test every year, and people in the past had the answers for us to take the test. I didn't take the test because I was good. I was going to wait till the very end to try to knock the test out. But some of the guys that were not passing the grades on our team, the only way that they could be eligible was for them to take that test that would boost their GPA up so that they can be on the team. So a couple of my teammates decided to take the test. Of course, they were getting the answers. Well, they had the answers to the test with them. They got caught. And once they got caught, the NCAA did a big investigation on just everything and all the athletes that took it. And, you know, eventually found out that, you know, our university and the athletes that were taking it, everybody was cheating to take that test. Found out they really put a hardcore penalty on us where they erased all of our stats from anybody that took the test, but just the team as a whole. Like the years that these players were a part of that team and they were playing, the NCAA erased all the stats, all the wins, losses, accolades, all that was wiped out. Kind of similar to like that USC situation with those fellas back then, right? So anytime I tell that story and anytime I tell my basketball story, period, and I tell people about that, they're like, all right, bet. And they look at me, I'm like, Spence, you only had like average like 1.8 points a game or something like that. Like you talking like you can hoop, but that don't really add up.
Yeah,
and like, no, I trust me, dog. I can hoop, I promise. Then I'll get going like, yo, you know what? Just meet me on the court right now so I can show you better than I can tell you. I know what the stats is saying. And that used to always crush me because really that was my identity at the time, if you will. Like, like men lie, women lie. You know, one of my favorite rappers said that men lie, women lie, but numbers don't. Yep. Right? And I could depend on my numbers to let you know. But my numbers was gone now, so that was always a thing for me. As I continue to tell stuff like, did you hoop? Yeah, I play ball. Okay, cool. Let me look you up. Then they get the side eye. And then sometimes, here's the thing, Lawrence, sometimes people won't even say nothing because they'll be like, oh, okay. And then they'll just, you know, life will go on. Then I'd be like, okay, side note.
We call that the low simmer. That's the low simmer, good brother. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love that you brought that in because like I wanted you to take the time to kind of start from kind of just high school and kind of get to that point, right? That piece right there, because, you know, I think in general, I appreciate, you know, kind of for many people, the modesty of this, but of the work and the career, but, you know, especially real time, you know, big time in the sense that to the extent that you're getting ready to try out for the Globetrotters, you know, that level of skill. So I wanted people to be anchored in this type of excellence, right? That is a bit outer worldly. Wow. This is pretty rare. And so you have that career, have this moment of, okay, wow, that has to go. But you kind of this was kind of like a turning point for you because now you kind of find yourself in this position where you're like, all right, I want to continue my career. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm trying to do, right? I mean, in your mind, and this was basketball, but you get to this place where you get presented with an opportunity to try out for the Harlem Globetrotters. Right. And, you know, I want you to kind of get the picture of like, it was something where you're like, all right, great, this is going to be it. And it didn't necessarily pan out the way you wanted it, man. You know, talk a little bit more about what that looked like for you, man.
100%. And so from there, I graduated, got my bachelor's from there. And then I was ready to go right after I graduated.
Mm.
I was like, let's make this happen. I'm ready to keep hooping overseas, whatever it is. Like I talked to my dad, I had to sit down with my dad, and I had to sit down with my uncle. And they was both like, you know, it's like kind of one of them Godfather type of sitting downs, right? Like and like we was all talking, they was like, hey man, I know you're ready, you're feeling good, but continue on and get your master's. Get your master's. You're gonna appreciate it in the long run. And I was like, I want to hoop. What you mean? He's like, yo, get your master's. It won't take long. Basketball's gonna be there. Just stay in shape. Get your master's. So I'm like, all right, I'll get my master's. And look, it wasn't long at all. Like, I don't know how long masters usually take, maybe 2, 3 years. Depends on where you're at. I knocked that thing out in a year and a half. I wasn't playing. I was determined. I'm like, done, 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 done. Get these credits. Boom. Did great. I finished out with like a 3.8 GPA. So like that was when I was really focused and locked in. And I stayed in shape during that time. And I was like, all right, graduated, done. Let's go, set it up. So we make the phone calls. We talk to the Globetrotters. Everything's getting ready to set up. I'm getting ready to do tryouts and everything. And I was in talks with the Globetrotters, and for whatever reason, like they kept having to push back that tryout date.
Mm.
And I was like, man, I'm tired of sitting still. Like I always like to kind of be on the move. I don't like to be just complacent. And I was like, man, I'm gonna give them till September. At that time, I was like, I'm gonna give them till September. Then after that, I do have my MBA, so I'm gonna put that thing to use. I got to keep it moving. So September comes, still nothing, no updates on when we can do the tryout. So like, all right, time to go ahead and go left and start my professional career, and just utilize, what I worked hard for in the classroom,
Mm.
which was, management positions and marketing positions and all that. And what's crazy is like, even during that time, while I was finally in that professional setting, like literally like maybe a few months later, like I did get a phone call. It was a voicemail actually. And it's like, hey Spencer, we're gonna be down there next week. If you're still interested in the trial for the workout, let us know. But at that time I was like, nah, man, because it just felt too shaky.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I was in my professional career, checks was coming in, everything was set. It was a solid foundation for me on that side. I was like, I'm just gonna stick with this. And it is what it is. That time has passed. Very tough situation, tough decision for me. It was very hard, but I just knew I had to keep it moving.
Mm. Well, but this is, whether people have an athletic background or not, I do think there's something about a shift in identity that happens when something that you want to continue. And I think, for example, whether it's, the past year in the pandemic, there's a lot of people who've had to shift their entire identity. Their jobs went
Yeah.
away. The places where they would go in, their kind of community, all of that shifted, and they were kind of placed in a position of say, all right, I got to move forward. I got to grieve this thing. Like this thing
Yeah.
needs to end, but I need to move
Yeah.
forward. But your story still wasn't necessarily linear, right? Because after
Mm.
you kind of have that transition and you're kind of working, you're kind of like, you're like, I want to find something solid. The career, you kind of got to a place, at least in terms of the work you were doing at in a kind of reputable company, right? But you're like,
Yeah.
there's still something ain't connecting here fully,
One
right?
hundred
And found
percent.
yourself into somewhat of the family business piece, right? In terms
Right.
of just following your father's footstep a bit. So just because this is where I want to kind of turn the corner a bit and kind of get into the God piece a bit more, because I
Yeah, for
think
sure.
people do relate to this feeling of just like, I don't. Am I missing a memo or something? It seems like everybody around me knows exactly what they're doing and why
Mm.
they're doing it, and they seem like this great linear path. But one thing that for you is just like that just wasn't the path, right? Can you talk a bit about kind of just you're kind of in the fan business now, you're kind of trying to figure it out. What was your mind and psychology, and then where were you with God at that stage where you're like, all right, got a career, I've had this laid to the side, my basketball career, I'm trying to get my life going. I have an MBA, but I'm not feeling like my MBA is really making a difference in terms of the money I'm bringing home. Like, just
Yeah.
where's your mind? Where's God? What's going on with that?
It was in 2015, November the 1st. And it was a Sunday, where, again, I'm in my church clothes, went to church. Then I went to a Sunday fun day, little brunch situation. I left there and I'm getting ready to go to another location to go hang out at another spot around 8 p.m. Sunday night. So traffic is still going on one of our highways called 59 here in Houston. Roads are wet. I'm on the far lane. I drive going fast, and I hydroplane. So I hydroplane because I hit a big puddle. Once I do that, I hit the sidewall. I spin all across like an 8-lane highway to the other side of the sidewall, hit that. And then, my car is totaled. Even when I spun across the highway, nobody hit me, which was amazing because there was definitely traffic going on. And then I just closed my eyes, and I was just, during that spinning situation, I just closed my eyes and I was just ready for the impact. Nobody hit me. I found out, opened my eyes, I was in the driver's seat. In the driver's seat, and I was in a two-seater, and of course I'm in the passenger seat. Sorry, I'm in the passenger seat, and the driver's seat is open. And I always say that in that moment, that's when Jesus took the wheel, right? And I open up, no breaks, no bruises, nothing. Car's totaled, but I'm good. And what was crazy too, because I had been drinking at that time, and people came and checked me out, made sure I was good. And like you said, I was in the family business. I was working for the railroad at the time, following in my father's footsteps as that. And if I would have, got hit with a DUI at that time, I would have lost my position at the railroad, which was a big time position that was making a lot of money. So, the fact that nobody else was involved in that, and the cop was cool, he was just like, yo, I'm just going to call the record. You'll be good to go. So God really kept me in that situation. And that was a turning point right there, Lawrence, to where I was like, this needs to change because God obviously has me here for a reason. And during that time, because I was being so drained and not being fulfilled, I knew that there needed to be something more. So I was like, I really need to try God out for real. And I was on the fence. Like, that's when I was in a gray area in that relationship with God and with Christ. But I was still I still wanted that world. The world was still pulling me because I was so used to it and I was so comfortable with that. But I wanted to get that transit. I wanted that. I just needed a little push. And that was the little push. That was my breaking moment, right? That was the literal breakthrough moment of the car crash. And I just really decided that that was a moment where it broke me down, but it also broke me through, which is now leading me to, where we're at now.
Brother, man, I appreciate you sharing that. And I do think, beyond people relating to that, I do think it gives a picture about, I think there's many doors, but people going to the same place. What I mean by that is that the way in which people start to get curious and or believe God is real and must be real in their lives, it's various. But I think what I could imagine people may hear from what you're saying is the idea that, God has to be real if I survive this. Wow, there must be some purpose, because I don't think I was supposed to survive this thing. And I do think that is something that people could really understand. And so I think even from that, where that kind of the lights start going on, and I also hear from, I think what I think is powerful for people to hear as well is that it was I was around it, but now I'm going to fast forward even a bit now, because what I've found really remarkable about People with 13 is I get drawn to the aspect of it being something, right? And I know you'll give a little bit more context for people. It being something that it talks about the holistic nature of growth. Why do you feel it was important to kind of create something like this?
Right. So great question. So before even the car accident and all that, like, I had an idea that I wanted to, because I still love like basketball, athletics, sports, fitness. That's my life. That was my life. Right. So that's what I used to do when working out and all that stuff. And I saw the results. Like, I used to be a super, super skinny guy. And I saw the results of hard work with my body that just really brought me to a place of confidence, right? And strength. And even then I loved people growing up. Like, I was always put in a leadership position, whether I liked it or not. I'm naturally an introvert, but God was always placing me, whether I'm student council president, captain on a basketball team, point guard. I had to be vocal, and I had to encourage and motivate and direct, right? People that was around me, a team of people. So I love those things. And I was like, cool. My mindset was always like, man, when I leave, I want to leave a legacy. Whatever it is, I just want to leave I want to leave my own footprints in the world. I want it, like, it was very self-centered, but I still had a motive of wanting to leave a legacy, and help people. I had a heart for people to still help them, right? And so initially, it was just going to be a boot camp just to help people get fit, right? And then I can motivate them to become fit. And that at this time, 2015, like it's hot. Like boot camps is real hot. Everybody's going to these different parks. You know, P90X was still hot at the time. All that stuff is going on. Um, but even during that time when I was building my relationship with Christ, and getting to know him better, right? And building my and getting into the word better, I was like, man, what's a little different is that everybody has these boot camps, but nobody's talking about the word in that. And now that I'm starting to read this word, this is 2015, where I'm beginning to build my relationship. And that's just me really still going on church on Sundays. But this is just me being more intentional in listening to that word on Sunday, and then going back home and reading a few more scripture for myself and doing a little bit more background, right? So you would say I'm still early in my journey with my walk with Christ. Um, but I was, whenever you learn something new and you're starting to read, and it's now becoming fulfilling, right? It's like, oh, I want everybody to know about this. This is really cool. So I was like, let me add this to the workout, right? Because nobody's doing that. This will be a cool little creative mix to where it's like, all right, we're working on your body. I'm mentally going to get you prepared because I'm mentally motivating you and encouraging you. But now let's work on the spiritual side, right? So I wanted to add all those things together because I've never seen that done. Like everybody just focus on the boot camp and making money. But I was like, I really don't even want to make money on this. Like, because money isn't the motive anymore. Like I was making again, like previous to that, I was making money. I had girls, I had a nice car, all the things that society said was cool and sexy. I had that, but I still wasn't being fulfilled. So like, man, money isn't even my motive right now anymore. Like I just want to help people. And the biggest profit that I can gain is them becoming better people, spiritually, mentally, and physically. So the genesis of that actually happened was after that car crash happened. I was like, all right, it needs to happen now. Because even then, like I said, I was on the fence. I was in that gray area. The enemy, who I'm talking about now, the devil's kind of holding me back. And he still wanted me in his grasp because he had me in the world. Like the Bible said that this world is his now. We're in a fallen world, and he pretty much is controlling this. It was meant for us initially, but the fall of man, all that stuff happened, and now that this is a fallen world, he has a grasp on. He wanted to keep me in this world, but and I was still being tugged by it. But once that crash happened, again, that was my breaking point to really just jump right into it. Don't wait anymore. It doesn't matter if you haven't marketed enough. It doesn't matter if you don't have sponsors or anything like that. Just do it. And 2 weeks later, after that crash, I just decided to go ahead and start P413. So what P413 stands for is Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I just kind of moved forward from there. And ever since then, it's just been building and building and building. So I would say the genesis of it all, for it to come off of being just an idea and a thought, and it actually becoming something as a movement, was after November 1st, 2015. That's when I really just jumped into it.
Bro, I thank you, man. I love this one because I think for many people it's like the Kanye through the fire, through the wire moment. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? It's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
it, but there is something right around just seeing your life flash and saying,
Mm,
I don't have as much time, and if I am going to do something that does leave a legacy, I need to do it now, which I think is
yeah.
powerful. I think too, the also the reality of doing it and starting today, right? I think one of the big challenges was starting everything. I think now people have moved to this gig economy. It's just reality. People are recognizing that in order for me to live and just be from a wisdom, it's actually a stewardship wisdom. I have to figure out other ways to support myself and my family. There is this view
Yeah.
of like almost perfect being the enemy of good, of starting something, but the reality is it's like if this is something that God has given me and an idea that I believe is going to help people, start today or sooner, right? As opposed to just staying in my mind and overthinking these things. I would love to get into the almost some of the nuts and bolts of it, because I do think this holistic piece is huge, right? One, that we are integrated people, right? So typically you even see from
Hmm.
personal training, it's not just personal training, it's nutrition plan. It's this,
Right.
right? It is like it's hard for me to do this if my life is not in order. And I think more and more people this is pushing, but you're really incorporating a real full view of mind, body, spirit. How do
Right.
you structure? How is the even just P413 structured? Even the way the exercises, is there kind of a signature, almost trademark type of view towards the exercises that you're doing? What is just the combinations that makes it distinct, or is just the distinction? Not saying just, but is the this
Yeah.
distinction the element of faith that is on it, or is there actually an element of the approach and and attack the approach to it that makes it different?
Right. The approach is I think it's the community,
Hmm.
and that's what makes it so magical and beautiful. Um, to where you have to show up to really feel that. It's nothing to where you can just watch from afar, right? Like we can tell you what it is, and this is what it is. The structure of it is we start off. We have a devotional. I'll do a quick devotional, and then we'll pray. After the prayer, we do a high intensity interval workout, which can be 45 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes. No body weight, no weights, only body weight,
Hmm.
and then we get it in. And then after that, we have another prayer, and then I leave it open for donations. I always leave it open for donations. Now, donations is not money because again, I'm not charging anybody. These are free workouts that we've held in various parks throughout Houston. The donations that I would always leave open is toiletries, clothes, shoes, things like that, because then we would gather all of those items and supplies and we would give them to our local homeless shelters throughout the city. So that was the only thing, right? But when people get there, it's really something magical, and that's our piece, right? It's not about you showing up and just wanting to look sexy and look wear your different type of apparel, fit apparel, right? It's not about that. Like come one, come all. Like this is something for um, people in their 60s, 70s, all the way down to we've had children 10 and 11 years old that show up, right? It's a family atmosphere, wide range. It's not intimidating to the point where you think you're just going to be out here and like, oh my goodness, this is too hard. Like the reason I do body weight only is these are exercises that you do here, but you can also do at home, right? And it's something that everyone can do. And so you can continue on with your health journey. But what I love the most is when we just come together, we have that devotional, so we can start with that, right? And then honestly, like the Holy Spirit is just present through it all, and just we're leading with love, and love is just felt throughout the whole exercise, throughout that whole time, where not only me encouraging people, but others encourage, like partners encouraging each other when they're side by side, like, come on, you can do this, we got this, we can do all things. That's our motto. We can do all things, we can do all things. That's the P413 motto. So you actually find moments of worship throughout your workout, and that's what I love the most. Like, can you ever think about a time, and I'm sure you can, anybody that works out, when you working out and you lifting some heavy weights or you're just doing a tough workout, you'll find yourself in a moment where it's like, whoa, Lord, whoa, Jesus, oh my God, like all of these things, right? Just because you're saying, because it's so tough, you can actually, you're calling out to him even if you don't realize it, but you are finding your moment in worship. Now we can be intentional in those moments to where it's like, this is a tough moment, but you know what? Greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. There's something inside of me that's going to push me through this adversity that I'm going through. There's something inside of me that's going to push me through this temporary pain to where I see victory on the other side of it.
Hmm.
There's something inside of me that is greater than what I have right now, but it's something that I'm connected to that allows me to be able to do all things through Christ who strengthens me, right? When you have that type of motivation, now it's bigger than me, right? Now I just become a vessel. And now that you get connected to the Holy Spirit and something that you initially thought you couldn't do, but then once you're done, you're still standing and you're stronger, that's where it hits, right? That's the power in it, right? To where you're getting pushed, you're getting encouraged, you're being moved by not only your brothers and sisters, this community that's around here, but you're also feeling something that is outer body. And that I think that's what really separates us from a lot of other boot camps out there, which they're all great, but we are just unapologetic, unashamed of being intentional when we have those oh my God moments, or ooh Lord, that was tough, or Jesus, that was tough. Like we're really calling out to him,
Mm.
and we're looking to him for that strength.
I, I really I appreciate that, and I think this is What I love is one, the creativity of it all, because I think there's such parallels. I think there's obviously, when people read the word, there's scriptural parallels about, with training, that kind of picture of the Roman, that gladiator picture, even in the context of the
Yeah,
scriptures, there's some real significance of that beyond the Timothy scripture of this being suitable for training in righteousness. There's that piece, the race, right?
yeah, yeah,
But I do think there is something in those moments of saying, well, God uses life, right? The real lives that we have, the life experience that you had actually shaped and challenged your faith. And so even in a moment where you're looking at I can't do another frog walk or I can't do another
yeah,
lunge.
yeah,
Well, you know what? there are moments where I felt I couldn't do another day. I couldn't get out of the bed, intentionally
yeah.
pulling it together and using that exercise to actually have dual meaning. I think that's remarkable. Just for that to be an experience that people have, for it to also be family friendly. Typically, there's
Yeah.
also an interesting thing, I think, particularly in the, I would say, just the West, in the United States, very individualistic, and so you
Mm-hmm.
never really hear about family oriented boot camps per se. You have your Barry's
Yeah,
Fitness, you have your Orange Theory, you have all these things, but they're singular. It's my experience, but you are connected
yeah,
to community. But then something that
yeah.
you and the family could be able to enjoy, and be able to at least pass down the importance of the physical fitness alongside the spiritual fitness.
Oh,
I tip my hat to you in that. You know, I think one of the things I'm curious about, even as we kind of are on the latter end of this, is just what have you learned about God in this specific work, right? So, what are some of the things that you're kind of learning about God in, just like, creating something, number one, that you're not charging for, right?
hmm,
Creating something that's, like, family friendly in a time now where, again, you're in the middle of a pandemic, though obviously different pockets of the states deal it differently, right?
right. Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure.
what are you seeing about God that's just really reshaped or challenged your way around, or your view around how God works, or how God is active in your life? Just what are you learning about God differently through the work in this season?
What I'm learning about God is definitely when you don't put him on a schedule,
Hmm.
like I did, right? When you don't put him on a schedule and you just allow him to be there and walk with you every step of the way and include him, then he opens doors for you that you didn't even know uh, needed to be open.
Mm,
You didn't even ask for them to open, but he's there with you.
mm,
And if you are obedient to him and trusting in him that, hey, I'm opening this door for you, walk through it. Trust me on this. Because once you walk through this door, the other thing that you did want, or that you did want, that is according to my will that I have for you and the calling that I have for you, those will come as well.
mm,
So instead of putting him on a schedule that we used to, now while we're in a pandemic, he really slowed us down, right? And if you look at my life prior to 2015, I was moving so fast,
mm,
right? When you live worldly again, and when you're chasing all of these things, you're constantly moving, right? Because you're constantly searching. Once again, I was being drained, so I had to refuel so fast. He'll slow you down. That wreck slowed me all the way down. So
mm.
now I'm moving not at a hustle and grind and go get it, move, which I know East Coast, yeah, that's East Coast, y'all move fast. I get it, I love it. But he now asked me, and I feel like the same is being asked right now in this pandemic, to move at a pace of grace, right?
Mm.
Don't take off. Like now you leaving me, right? Like I bought my wife a dog for her birthday not too long ago.
Brothers are
We're
not gonna
doing
like you
leash.
off of this one. Don't you done set it and messed it all up. They're like, no. But go ahead, go ahead. My bad, dog. Go ahead, go
yo,
ahead.
yo. So I bought her a dog, and we're doing leash training with this dog. And while we're doing leash training, the dog is going to it's taking off on its own, right? Either it's going really really fast, or it's staying back, being really slow. So when we first started, the dog didn't want to move. It was planted, and I'm like, it's Rookie. They're like, come on, Rookie, come on. While I'm pulling Rookie, dragging, I'm like, come on, Rookie, you got to go. You coming with me? Rookie just stood still to the point where I really had to like nudge him, and then he would come. But then he like one time he fell and like hurt himself, scraped his chin. It was all bad. She went crazy on me, right? She's like, what'd you do to my dog? But what I'm going with this is like he stayed planted, so I had to pull him a little bit. He hurt himself, right? So now we're on elite training where now he's getting a little older. Now he wants to take off, right? So now he don't stay still. He's taking off ahead of me. So now I got to reel him back. Now he's getting choked, right? He's still hurting himself. But today, and as we are continuing to grow in our relationship between me and the dog, he is now moving at a pace that I'm moving at, where he's going side by side with me. Now he's learning that if I just move with my master, instead of trying to hold back and not do it and be stubborn, or try to move too fast and get ahead of him, because I have a better idea of what I want in life than him, and I have a better idea where I want to go than my master. That's cutting off my air in order for me to breathe. It's strangling me, right? I'm losing my breath because I'm working so hard. But when I move at a pace of grace, I am now able to endure anything that I encounter, because not only am I strangling myself, but I have someone that's bigger, taller, stronger, that I know will protect me. So in the moments when we move at a pace of grace, we don't be stubborn and not move when God says move. And when we try to move too fast and move ahead of him, right? We do nothing but hurt ourselves. But now when we're in a point where we just, stop, slow down, move at his pace, you find yourself in a closer relationship, a better understanding, and you're actually getting further in life once you move at that pace. So right now we're in this pandemic, he wants us to move at his pace. How we treat this pandemic will hurt us or it can help us. It's really dependent on us. But he's giving us an awesome opportunity to just connect with him, and don't put him on a schedule, right? And you know why? You know why it's so serious that he doesn't want to put you on a schedule? Because he shut churches down for a while, right? Even churches shut down. So your Sunday schedule changed because you couldn't just go on a Sunday, right? So you still at home, and you're right where he wanted you to be, right? Places of worship back in the day, they first started at home. Your home is supposed to be your sanctuary. And if you are a man that has a wife and a family, you are supposed to be the pastor of your household, right? This was a perfect moment for kingdom men and men in general to really step up and know their place in life, right? That he gave you authority, he gave you domain, but it's your time now to walk as a king. And this is our development stage of that. So I'm learning so much of how, if I don't put him on a schedule and I just rock with him, and I just let him be my dad, let him be my father, let Jesus be my best friend, my homie, and I just have them with me at all times, they open so many doors, right? Like the moment I decided to walk with him and just say yes and be obedient to him, P413 started. That was my yes. That was my obedience. That was my pace at grace. After P413 started, that's how I met my wife, my amazing wife, because I said yes to them. A couple years later, my wife reached out to me through the DM. She slid in the DMs and she was like, hey, I see this boot camp that is phenomenal. It's so cool. I live in Dallas, but I'll be in Houston and I want to check your boot camp out. And I'm like, bet, come through, check it out. She comes through. I see her because we've known each other a while back, but that was our moment to reconnect. I see her. I'm like, yo, you definitely fine. You still cute. You doing your thing. And you love Jesus, which is amazing. So you on that same path as me. Let me take you out to dinner. We do dinner, and literally the rest is history. We get married, right? But from there, I then move on, still doing P413, still saying yes, right? My yes to God then led to her saying yes to me when I asked her to marry me, right? So it's a bunch of yeses that's coming, right? And I'm still moving at a pace of grace. And because of P413, it also opened the door for me to be in another position that I'm in, which is a youth pastor, this big time, amazing African-American, but also multicultural, multi-generational church here in Houston, where it allowed me to be a youth pastor to talk to the youth and really break the Christian life and break down just a relationship with Jesus in a way that they can relate to, and also a way that it's not just, really old school, if you will, to where they look at me and it's like, yo, I can connect with you. You played ball, you hooped, you went through this crazy thing in your life. Your basketball thing didn't work out, but life still moved on. And you make knowing Jesus and following Jesus, you make that look cool, right? So all of those yeses came from my yes to Christ.
Bro, man, this is moving at the pace of grace. That's a bar, and I think that's a bar for everyone, right? In that, right? Because
Mm,
for I think for people, what does that look like? That that look like that tension may have been the tension in your marriage, in your relationship,
yeah. Mm,
because you're going a lot faster than perhaps the capacity of your ability to care for your family, right? And on the flip
yeah.
side, right, that pace. And so I think this is something to heed, particularly as quote unquote things open up, right? That the wisdom of the time of being able to slow down is not lost in all of those things.
Right.
And so that is such a bar and such wisdom, that I really that y'all listening and seeing really catch, because I think that's across the board. There has been this angst, and we are not used to that. And also for many people, there is a loss of identity in the pace. I'm always
Yeah.
booked and busy. This, so
Yeah.
I really do pray that people heed that. I do want to get this point, as we close, man. Is this other piece around? I think brothers feel weight, and I thank you that you spoke to this element of brothers, their responsibility. But you're a man who's married, who has multiple responsibilities that involve people, which for many people who are involved in the people carrying business is tiring, right? And you're an introvert,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
you know
Jesus.
how do
Yeah.
you how does God keep you anchored? Like first, how do you connect most to God in a very tangible, practical way? Like, take me through a day in a life for you that you feel like if you went to the end of the day, you're like, oh, okay, me and God was connected, and then two, what would be some of your wisdom that you'd give to brothers in the position of managing so many different things, managing the weight of just responsibilities and expectations, right? How does God speak to you in that, and what would you say to those brothers?
Yeah. So to your first point, just my day to day and what it looks like, how I connect to God. It's very interesting how, like, as you get older and as you mature and the shifts in your life happen. Because I used to be kind of like maybe a lot of young teens and stuff like that. I used to like to sleep late, super late. I wake up at 1 o'clock, which is so wild how I can wake up at 1 p.m. now that I'm, like I used to sleep, bro, because I would be up all night. That's the thing. But now that has definitely changed in my life. I'm like a super early bird. I like to get up early, 5 a.m. That's what I say. 5 a.m. is the hour of legends.
Mm.
Either you're just going to sleep or you're just waking up, one or the other. But that's the 5 a.m. hour of legends. And so for me now, as a married man, getting up at 5 a.m. has a little bit more meaning for me, just because that is me preparing my day and also preparing things for the household.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that, I'll get up. That's my quote unquote alone time. Get up. I I read scripture. I read the word. I read my devotionals. And I also have my time of just meditation, right? After I've read some scripture, I then just kind of sit on that and meditate on it. That's also my moment of connecting with God, and really just, you can also call it a prayer. And I think it's important that people that are still earlier in their walk, or still trying to figure out the Christian life, like a lot of times we think that prayer needs to be done a certain type of way,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like everybody think prayer needs to be like that King James version prayer, like, "Oh Father, how I love thee, how art thee words." Like, no, it's just a conversation, just like I'm having with you. And after I read that scripture, I talk to him, have a quiet time, and then by that time, my wife, she's getting ready to wake up at that time. But I'm up. I'm already been up about an hour and a half, hour before she has. So I got that. I'm filled up from that connection with God, right? I'm plugged into Him. So I'm plugged into the source. So now that allows me to be a resource for her to be energized, right? To get fueled up from my connection with Him. I'm coming in. Good morning, babe. I love you. Today's going to be a great day. You want a smoothie or coffee today? So I'm upbeat. I'm getting her prepared for her busy day, because she works in the medical field. She's a doctor, and her days are crazy,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I just want to make sure that she's on point, and knows that I got her back.
Mm-hmm.
So taking the lead in that, making sure she's good to go. Once she's gone, then I prepare the rest of my day to go to the church. And then there's some days where I'm also a trainer at another facility. Sometimes I'll have classes that I teach there as well. So I'm doing that. So my day, and even in those classes there, I don't want to veer off too much, but even in those classes there, that's a secular setting at this other training facility that I'm at. And in that secular setting, It's similar to like a berries and an Orange Theory. This one's called Sweat 1000. Um, I'm constantly playing like Christian hip hop in those classes. I'm constantly still giving subtle encouraging words that's connected to the word, right? I'll tell them like, yo, we can do all things. Be immovable, be steadfast, press forward towards the prize. I'm throwing all these things to them, right? And they just don't know it, but the Holy Spirit is all through this workout, through this class. Sometimes people do catch and say, yo, I heard that. And thank you for that. Like, God bless you. Like, that's beautiful. I caught that. But from there, I got my day at the church as a youth pastor. So I'm doing that, getting things ready for the youth, for the next generation, and for the young adults. By then, I come back home, and that's just me spending time with my wife. Like, I try to cut things off the best I can. I only respond to emails that are like urgent emails. If not, I give her that time, because there's a lot of times when I get home like at 6 or 7 o'clock, right? And most of my day is gone. And she's had a busy day, so I just make sure that I do my best. And I'm still working at this, but I'm doing my best to just intentionally give her my time, where we talk, we watch TV, or whatever it is she wants to do, and then we eat dinner, and then we wrap it up and do it all over again the next day. So it's a very full day. And I would just say, to your next question, I know some people say, man, yeah, my wife says it's the most, like, you a long breather, right? You know what I'm saying? You talk a lot, Spence, so I don't want to take too much, right? I'm long-winded. That's what she says. Long-winded preacher. But for the brothers that are listening, and just some encouraging words to them, whether you're in a relationship or not, I would encourage you to just make sure that your day starts where you're plugged in. Just like we plug in our iPhones, our app, any of our devices, we naturally plug them in before we go to sleep, right? So they're being charged up and they're getting juiced up before you wake up, and then you unplug them. They're 100% ready to go, so you can go on through your day. And that's the same thing that we should be doing in life, especially as men, because we are called to lead in many ways, and not to demean the women, like the queens. We need y'all so much, and I love all of my queens. We appreciate you and we need you, but I think they can also agree with the fact that they really, really, really appreciate when they know that a man they can trust to lead them as well, and kind of take the ranks, and they can ride side by side and let him do his thing. And I only say that because I've heard that from many women in the past. Like, the only reason that women sometimes take the lead is because they can't trust the person that is attempting to lead. But if you are plugged in to the source, like I was telling these gentlemen, and you have your time with God to start your day, and then you just keep Him with you throughout the day, you'll find an energy again that normally you wouldn't think you have. But when you're charged up and you move throughout the day, you stay connected, and you find that pace to where your downtime, you refuel with Him, talk to Him, meditate, breathe, and then go right back at it. You'll be better for it. Man, I hope that made sense. I really
Brother,
hope that made
it
sense.
did, man. And I'm thankful. I'm thankful you said that. And I think that is relevant, beyond the brothers. But I wanted to at least give you a space and give us a space to speak to the brothers, because I think your story, I think, resonates in a real way. I think as people sit in and listen to it, brother, man, I'm thankful. I think on behalf of just the brothers and sisters who will listen to this and will see this, just thankful for your just obedience, and you being able to see an opportunity to serve people in a way that I think is really going to benefit them beyond the body, but for the body in all ways than one.
Yeah.
I'm thankful for you, and then for your ability to be faithful, and just to understand your responsibility at home. But I'm just thankful, just kind of the encouragement here, man. Just that the pace of grace, man. I think that those bells are gonna ring for a little bit for people, as they kind of walk away from this conversation, brother. Where can people find you, man?
Praise
Like in
God.
terms of supporting things that you got coming up, man. Just how do people reach out to you? How do people connect with you, good brother?
Yeah. So my Instagram handle is going to be at the number 4 MAN underscore P413. And then, of course, you can find me on Facebook, Spencer Foreman. We have a website for P413, and it's called All Things P413.com. Again, it's going to be All Things P413.com. You can follow us there, look at all the testimonials of the people that not only found their fitness journey, but they also found Christ. And you can also stay connected on different events that we have on that website. We got merch on there that you can get. So a lot of cool things on our website. And just other than that, you can also find me as a youth pastor at Fallbrook Church here in Houston, Texas. I love that church. And then also, lastly, I'm also a fitness trainer. I do so much, bro. So I'm also a fitness instructor. As I said, I'm like, bro, you do a lot. So I'm a fitness instructor at Sweat 1000 here in Houston as well, where you can, if you're ever in Houston, look up Sweat 1000, and you can get a nice little workout with me. So you can get workouts at P413, Sweat 1000, then you can just kick it with an amazing community at Fallbrook Church. And yeah, that's all the places that you can find me.
Most definitely, good brother. I'm thankful for you, man. All respect, man. I'm looking forward to picking up this conversation again in the future, man. But all respect for you, man. Thank you so much.
Man, thank you so much, Lawrence. Let me just speak about you before we close, man. I just want to let you know that you are an incredible, incredible brother. And I know we've only met virtually thus far, but you've inspired me so much. And just watching and seeing all the things that you're doing, and you saying yes to your calling and to your assignment is blessing the masses. And I know you're not a numbers guy, and I'm obviously not a numbers guy anymore as well, because my stats in the past don't matter. But us not being numbers guys anymore, if we can just inspire just that one person, and I know you're in the same way. It's just one person that watches, then God has done more than enough, right? To where we can encourage them and let them know that it's definitely cool and necessary to know Christ. Wherever you are, in the workplace, in life, whatever it is, it's all good, and it doesn't cost you anything, right? It's another free situation to be a part of something with meaning, fulfillment, a strong foundation, and a community that will love you. And Lawrence, I want to let you know that I love you, man. I do. I love you, and you inspire me, brother. And I can't wait till we can meet in person. So thank you for this opportunity. I'm honored. Thank you.
All respect, brother, man. I love you too, man, and I respect you deeply as well, good brother, man. And I look forward to catching up. I look forward to that game too, good brother, man.
Yeah, we gonna get it in.
We gotta end on that note, of course, yo. So that's at least some anticipation for what will go down. I'll get waxed probably, but we're not gonna accept that. All right, all right, all right. Take care, good brother. Peace.
All right, God bless.